For more than 12 years, she carried a love story the world never saw. No rings, no clues, no whispers, only silence. Until 2025, when everything broke open. The woman who once hid her heart walked down the aisle, and in that moment, a secret became a shock. Her engagement had stayed locked away until 2024. No one knew, not even her closest fans. People guessed anywhere from $100,000 to $6 million. But money was only part of the story, because her life was carved not just from success, but from struggle, from surgeries that almost broke her, to moments of triumph that pulled her back. She lived years of waiting, years of holding on, and when the world finally saw her victory, they realized her greatest treasure might not be her fortune. So what is it? What makes Shaira Diaz richer than money itself? If you believe wealth is only in mansions and luxury cars, her story will shake that belief. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you'll see her husband, her fortune, her homes, and the secret that changes everything. On May 3rd, 1995, in Las Piñas, a child was born. Her name was Shaira. Her world was not filled with wealth, but with creativity. At school, she was the girl who joined every contest. She sang on stage. She danced before strangers. She acted in theater plays, losing herself in every role. And each time she brought home more than ribbons. She brought home hope. Her family saw it. Her teachers saw it. Even her classmates whispered, this girl was meant for something more. But dreams do not open doors on their own. In 2012, she dared to chase one. She joined Artista Academy, a talent show that promised fame. And out of hundreds, she rose into the spotlight, becoming a finalist. For a moment, her future looked unstoppable. But when the show ended, the crown wasn't hers. She wasn't the champion. She wasn't the one fans screamed for. She was simply the girl people almost remembered, an underdog. Her dream was alive, but fame was still far away. Because in this industry, talent is not enough. She needed more than skill. She needed destiny. Every audition became a test. Every rejection became a scar. She smiled on screen in small parts, but behind the smile she wondered, when will the world finally see me? Because even the brightest light is nothing until it finds the right stage. And that stage was still waiting. But destiny does not stay silent forever. The day was coming when one role, just one, would change her story forever. So what role was it? Which characters finally turned Shaira Diaz from a dreamer into a star? Her chance finally came. In 2013, she stepped into living rooms across the country through the show Kid Lat. It wasn't a lead role, but it was the first time families began to notice her face. By 2015, she was no longer a stranger. She brought laughter in Confessions of a Torpe. She showed depth in Baker King. Each role pulled her closer to the spotlight. She was no longer chasing the dream. She was living inside it. But the biggest shift came in 2018. That year, she signed exclusively with GMA Sparkle Artist Center. It wasn't just a contract. It was a declaration. Shaira Diaz had arrived. Now she wasn't just a hopeful talent. She was a face of primetime television. In Contessa, she showed her strength. In Familia Roses, she showed her heart. And suddenly, the girl from Las Piñas became a name the nation couldn't ignore. But even as her career exploded, something else was quietly growing, because the cameras showed her to the world, but they never showed the truth behind her smile. Every scene, every premiere, every red carpet, someone was watching from the shadows. Someone who knew her long before the lights. Someone who didn't see a star, but a woman. A woman worth waiting for. And while the world cheered for her success, her real story of love stayed hidden. Year after year, she kept it close. No headlines, no leaks, no scandals, only silence, and a secret relationship that outlasted the rumors. The world saw an actress rising, but who was the man waiting patiently behind the cameras? While her fame burned brighter than ever, behind the lights there was a man. Since 2013, his name was quietly tied to hers. A. Guzman, an actor, a fellow dreamer, a constant presence. While the world saw her on screens, he was the one waiting in the wings. Together, they made a choice. No red carpet displays, no endless interviews, only silence. Because in an industry built on noise, they built a love that thrived in the quiet. For over a decade, they walked side by side. Not for headlines, not for gossip, but for each other. And then came December 2021, a secret moment, a ring exchanged, an engagement no one knew about. They celebrated alone, while the world stayed blind. Not until 2024 did the truth finally slip out. Fans were stunned. Reporters scrambled. How could such a secret stay hidden so long? But the shock didn't end there, because Shaira and EA revealed one more truth. They had chosen celibacy until marriage, a decision that left even loyal fans speechless. In a culture where stars flaunt their lives, they lived with restraint, and while many doubted them, their bond only grew stronger. It wasn't a show. It wasn't for likes. It was a love built on patience, on faith, on time. Still, questions filled the air. Could it be real? Or was this just another celebrity illusion? A story too perfect to last? The silence had protected them, but silence couldn't hold forever. Because soon, the world would witness their truth. Not in rumors, not in whispers, but in the one moment that changed everything. So when did their hidden love finally step into the light? On August 14th, 2025, the silence finally ended. At St. Benedict Parish in Cavite, the doors opened wide, and down the aisle walked Shaira Diaz. By her side, waiting with trembling hands, was A. Guzman. After more than 12 years of love, she was no longer just Shaira. She was now Mrs. Guzman. But this wasn't an ordinary ceremony. It looked like a scene pulled straight from a Korean drama. White flowers lined the floor. Soft lights filled the church. Every detail felt like it had been written for the screen. And the dress? A masterpiece. A couture gown designed by Seoul's Choi Jae-hoon. The silk shimmered with every step she took. Fans gasped. Guests whispered. Because in that moment, she wasn't just an actress. She was the image of a fairy tale bride. When she finally said, "I do," the applause shook the walls. It was the ending of one story and the beginning of another. But fairy tales come with a price. And this wedding was not a small one. Imported gowns, grand receptions, exclusive designs. Everything spoke of luxury. Everything whispered about wealth. People cheered for her vows, but their minds asked something else. How much did this all cost? And more importantly, how much is Shaira Diaz really worth? For years, her true fortune was hidden. Fans speculated, reporters guessed. Some said $100,000. Others swore it was closer to $6 million. But the real answer was never clear. Until now. Because behind the flowers and music, one question grew louder. Not about the love, not about the dress, but about the money. So what is Shaira Diaz's true net worth? The question echoed after the wedding. How rich is Shaira Diaz? For years, no one knew for sure. Blogs wrote different numbers. Some claimed she had just $100,000. Others insisted it was closer to $6 million. The truth, her fortune wasn't built overnight. It came from acting salaries, one show after another, from hosting gigs that placed her smile on stage, from endorsements where brands paid to borrow her name, from vlogging, sharing pieces of her life online, and from quiet business moves away from the cameras. Because behind the fame, Shaira was also an entrepreneur. In March 2025, she and EA made a bold step. They opened a Ba Thai tea branch in Las Piñas, a hometown investment, a sign that their money was working even when they weren't. But even with all these streams of income, numbers can still lie. Because net worth is more than a guess. It's not just about bank accounts, it's about lifestyle. What you own, how you live, and whether your world reflects your wealth. And this is where Shaira's life becomes harder to measure. Because she never bragged about riches. She never flaunted every purchase. But small glimpses revealed luxury hiding in plain sight. Cars that sparkled in the driveway. Homes that whispered of comfort and class. And choices that showed she wasn't just surviving. She was thriving. So while reports argue about her millions, the better question is not how much she has, but how much her life proves she's worth. Because in the end, money speaks loudest through what it buys. So what luxuries reveal the real power of Shaira Diaz's wealth? In early 2024, Shaira Diaz made a choice. Not a dress, not jewelry, but a car. A brand new Ford Everest SUV. She gave it a name, Snow. White, clean, strong. And to her, it wasn't just a vehicle, it was a symbol. A reminder that after years of struggle, after nights of doubt, her hard work paid off. Every time she turned the key, she wasn't just driving. She was celebrating the journey from auditions to stardom. And that made snow more than metal on wheels. It became part of her story. While other celebrities rushed to flaunt sports cars, she didn't. She didn't chase Ferraris. She didn't crave Lamborghinis. Instead, she chose a family SUV. Practical, reliable, but still powerful. Because Shaira wasn't trying to impress strangers. She was building a life for the people who mattered. For her family, for her future, for the road ahead. It was a choice that revealed something deeper. Shaira valued stability over flash. And that spoke louder than any Instagram post. But here's the question. If her car, her symbol of victory, was this public, what about her house? Because a car is mobility. A car is motion. But a home, that's where the truth of wealth is written. Behind gates, behind walls, where cameras can't always see. So what does Shaira truly own? What roofs shelter her success? And what doors open only to her name? Because the story of fortune isn't parked on the street. It's built in bricks, land, and rooms that last a lifetime. So what real estate does Shaira Diaz truly call her own? Yes, Shaira Diaz owns her home. But unlike other stars, she never turned it into a stage. No wide shots of a mansion, no Instagram posts of swimming pools, no glossy tours to show off marble floors. Instead, her walls stayed private, her rooms stayed silent, and her life behind the gates remained hers alone. Fans grew restless. They wanted proof. They wanted to see the symbols of her wealth, but all they found was a woman who valued privacy more than applause. A woman who didn't need to prove anything online. Still, this silence created questions. If she could hide her home, what else was she hiding? Because a fortune is not always in plain sight. And Shaira's story was never just about what she owned. It was about what she built quietly, away from cameras. And here lies the twist. While everyone searched for her cars and houses, she was quietly investing in something far more powerful. Not made of stone, not parked in driveways, but built deep within herself. So what secret investment did Shaira keep hidden all along? Beyond the lights, beyond the gowns, beyond the luxury cars and hidden homes, Shaira Diaz was investing in something the cameras never showed: herself. Because while the world measured her by contracts and headlines, she was quietly chasing knowledge. In August 2024, the truth finally surfaced. Shaira walked across a stage, not a film stage, not a TV set, but a graduation stage. She received her degree in marketing management. And not just a degree, she was named an outstanding student. It wasn't a role written by a producer. It wasn't a scene scripted for drama. It was her own effort, her own discipline, her own victory. While fans debated her net worth, she was proving that real wealth isn't always in millions. It can be in the hours spent studying, the late nights spent learning, the courage to keep growing, even when the world thinks you already have everything. Few fans knew. Even fewer expected it. Because behind her quiet smile, she was building a future no one could take away. A future not dependent on shows, or contracts, or even fame. And that raised the biggest question of all. If Shaira's greatest investment wasn't money, then what does this secret truly reveal about her wealth? In the end, the greatest luxury of Shaira Diaz was never her net worth. It was her discipline. Because while many stars rise and fade, she kept building. She built her career. She finished her degree. She opened a business. And she married her love. All within just 2 years. That is more than success. That is a blueprint of a life fully lived. The cars may rust, the mansions may fade, but love, that endures, and education, that lasts forever. From a small dreamer in Las Piñas, to a wife, a graduate, and a star, she rewrote her destiny. Her story was never just about money. It was about milestones. It was about the choices that shaped her future, and the patience that kept her grounded. So now the question turns to you. What truly defines wealth? Is it dollars in a bank? Or is it the discipline in a life well lived? In the end, Shaira Diaz showed us something rare. That true success is not only about luxury, it is about balance. She lived her dreams. She guarded her love. She finished her studies. And she built a future step by step. No loud displays. No endless boasting. Just steady growth that turned a girl from Las Piñas into a woman the world now admires. Her story reminds us of a truth often forgotten. The richest people are not the ones who flaunt their cars or mansions. The richest are those who build quietly, who invest in their hearts, their minds, and their relationships. That is where real wealth is found, and Shaira proved it. From the screen to the classroom, from patience to marriage, from discipline to destiny. Her journey is proof that money can buy many things, but it can never replace the treasures of character. If you want more iconic stories like this, where stars reveal their true wealth, hit subscribe, like the video, and share it with those who value more than gold. And now, a question for you. Do you believe Shaira's greatest treasure is her money, or the secret she carried all along?